Hello and welcome to another video from me, Rough Swordsman, Wargamer. It's part 5 of my playthrough of Malta Besieged, a solitaire game by Steve Carey and published by Worthington Publishing. In the last video we saw Tobruk fall and the Afrika Korps marching on towards Alamein. We managed though to hold back all the other fronts attacking Malta, and we finished the second epoch deck. And so we begin the third epoch. But just before we do, I mentioned it in the last video, when we attacked Rommel and pushed him back, I forgot to move Rommel's situation down to the left, which makes it harder for us to attack him next time. Okay then, here we go, third epoch, and we're starting with the headline phase. And the first card is that seeded card. Rommel attacks. On the 4th of January 1942, Malta-based bombers raided German airfields in Sicily. But the Luftwaffe still dominated Malta's skies. Rommel began his new offensive on the 21st of January, pushing back the British and recapturing Benghazi. The British then established the Exile defensive line as Malta was being reduced to rubble. So we get, for this first card, 3 actions. And there's a little asterisk here with the Alamein fortification counter. It says, if not yet in play, place the Alamein fort unit in the holding box. Well, of course, it's already there. So we've got the Luftwaffe, the Italian Air Force and the Afrika Korps advancing. -1 on morale for the resources phase, and in the orders phase, -1 DRM on all resources, but a +1 on U-boats and fortify. So military phase, Luftwaffe moving forward, as do the Italian Air Force and the Afrika Korps to Mercer Matruh, knocking on the door of El Alamein. -1 morale in the resources phase, and in the orders phase we have a -1 on all resources and a +1 on fortify, which isn't much use because both forts are fully fortified. So what we're going to do? Well, let's try Rommel's situation. We'll try and bring that up to 0 and see if we can push back the Afrika Korps again. So here's our little dice tower. Here we go. Yes, look at that. Back to 0. And I think we will try the Afrika Korps. Mustn't forget the Italian Air Force though. So good luck with this. See if we can push them back to Sidi Barrani. Oh, we're rolling hot. Last action. As I said, I think we'll try and push back the Italian Air Force. 3 or more. 5. Goodness me, what a good turn that was. That's everything. We're just tidying up now. And we're moving on to the next card with the next headline phase. And we have the Battle of Alam el Halfa. 2 actions. On the 30th of August 1942, Rommel attempted to break through south of El Alamein to encircle the British 8th Army. The plan failed, and Rommel was defeated by the 5th of September, having been forced to fall back to his start position. Montgomery paused to conserve, reform, and build up his forces for a subsequent offensive of his own. Well, the Afrika Korps is advancing, and this asterisk here with the ultra says if you spend the ultra marker and receive a failure result, you cannot repurchase it this turn. If it succeeds, in addition, you gain a +1 DRM against the Afrika Korps. Luckily, none of the resources are being touched, and we do get a +1 DRM on the military, fortify and raid, and plus the ultra if we use it. Right. But just before we do anything, once again I've forgotten to move Rommel's situation down from the last card. So the Africa Corps advancing once again. So do we use Ultra to give us a +1? I'm worried about the military and the morale counters. But once again, the Africa Corps comes a-knocking. If we use Ultra, it will give us a +1 DRM, which will negate Rommel's situation. But if we are successful, it will move down to -2. So would it be best just to use the 2 actions for a raid and then try and push back the Africa Corps, because in the orders phase we will get a +1 DRM for raid? Yeah, let's do that. Again, as I always say, you'll play this completely different. So we're not using Ultra. Resources, none. And as I said just now, a +1 on military, fortify and raid. So there we are. Military, fortify and raid. So I think we'll use our first action to try a raid on Rommel's supply. With our +1 we need 4, 5 or a 6. So we can knock that back to 0. Yes! And then our last action, we'll try and push back the Africa Corps back to Sidi Barrani. Luckily for us, none of the other fronts are moving at the moment. So we need a 5 or 6. We were lucky last time. Come on. No! They stay there. Well, that's it. A tidy up, as always. And we'll see what the next card brings in the headline phase. And the next card is Operation Calendar. The US carrier Wasp delivered 4 dozen Spitfires to Malta on the 20th of April 1942, but the Luftwaffe soon destroyed many of them on the ground and in the air. Malta had become unreliable as a naval base, and disease spread. The ace submarine HMS Upholder was lost at sea. King George VI bestowed the George Cross on Malta's civilians. So 2 actions. Oh, Cunningham. It says here, first remove the Cunningham marker permanently from play. If in play, the Spitfire's marker cannot be used this turn. Oh, it's not in play yet. But that's unfortunate. I even forgot to turn Cunningham over for the 3rd epoch. But nothing too dire has happened. It's only been a couple of cards, but he's gone. Luftwaffe and the Italian Air Force are advancing. Oh dear. Oh, that's good. Resources +1 morale. We get a -2 on the raid though, and a -1 DRM on all resources and the Luftwaffe. Starting to look a bit shaky. So, Cunningham has gone. As I said, I even forgot to turn him over. But anyway, he's removed from the game. And the Luftwaffe, oh dear, and the Air Force advance. +1 on morale though, which is good. But a -2 on raid. And a -1 on all resources. And, oh dear, the Luftwaffe. Well, I think we'd better use our actions for these and hope we can push them back. I know the Africa Corps is trundling towards El Alamein, but we've only got 2 actions. Could use some supply. Well, let's see how we go. Let's try the Italian Air Force first. We need more than a 2. Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear. Let's try that again. I can see us using some supplies. More than a 2. Come on, put it there. Oh dear, right. Let's use a supply and try the Luftwaffe. Luckily it's at 3, but we still need a 5 or a 6. Yes! Back they go. And I think we will try another supply just to see if we can push back the Afrika Korps. We're at 0. Then I'll be a little bit happier. So we need a 5 or a 6 again. No! Can't use any more supply. So that's it. We're just in the housekeeping phase. So let's tidy up. And it's back to the headline phase. And it is. Oh, Operation Pedestal. It's a convoy battle. Oh, we get 4 actions. That's good. Meant to be the decisive convoy action of the Malta campaign, Operation Pedestal received heavy escort from the Royal Navy, while a smaller convoy was also sent to divert the Italian Navy. Pedestal lost 2/3 of its merchant ships, and the Royal Navy suffered severe losses. But it allowed Malta to hang on. This is quite fortuitous because look, 5 supply. We just used up all our supply. These were shuffled. However, look, all Axis fronts except the Afrika Korps are advancing. That's no good. And Ultra is committed. We can't use it. Oh, -2 military. So that's going to go down to 0. And a +1 DRM on the military Luftwaffe, Regia, Marina and Fortify. So lots going on with this card. 4 actions. So this actually is looking pretty dire, as you'll see in a moment when we get to the resources phase. But for now, the Luftwaffe, the Italian Air Force, and Navy and U-boats are advancing. Next will be the convoy battle, and we can't use Ultra to stop the critical hits. So here we go. This is looking bad. Luftwaffe. A 2 to 4 will be a hit. 5 or 6 will be 2 hits. 2. That's a hit. The Air Force. Again, 2 to 4, 1 hit. 5 or a 6, 2 hits. No, 2 hits. The Navy. A little bit better. 3 to 5, 1 hit. 6, 2 hits. Oh, not having that. Hold on. Try that again. Oh, 3. That's a hit. And lastly, the U-boats. So we need a 1. 3. No. Our 5 hits. Look at that. For our 5 supply. We now have to lose 2 military, but we can only lose 1. So that goes down to 1. We can't do any raids, and we can only do 1 attack on these fronts. But as we can't lose 2 military, we have to lose it from the next one along, which is the supply. And that now means we can't do any raids, and a -1 DRM on all attacks. So this is looking very bad. We have got to get these two up. Otherwise, we'll only be able to attack one front, and that will have a -1 DRM. Oh dear. So I think we'd better try the supply first, because we want to get rid of that -1 DRM. Oh, but before that, we must do the orders. We've got +1 on the military, another one on the Luftwaffe, the Navy, and Fortify, which isn't much good. So that +1 on the military might help. But the first thing to do is to try the supply. So we use an action. No! We've got to try it again. Oh, that was nearly a 5. Just got to keep trying. 4, lovely. So we're up here. We've now got to try the military. Although we've only got one action left, so we can only attack one more front. We can't use supply, of course. So rather than try and move up the military, even though it's got a +1, we'll try and push back one of these. So let's try the Luftwaffe, as that's the most dangerous. So we only need 3 or more. 2, no! Oh dear, oh dear. Okay, it's the housekeeping phase. Let's see if we can at least get some supply. So it's Operation Pedestal. We don't have any air support. We need to throw lots of 1s. And if we throw a 5 or a 6, we'll lose 2 supply. I think the end is near. Here we go. First hit. 1. Oh, 1. Try again. I don't think we'll get too many of them, but you never know. 4. That supply is gone. 3. Oh dear, that supply is gone. 1 again. Good, good, good. Just one more hit. Come on. 3. No, that's already gone. So we've ended up with 3 supply and a bonus action. So 3 supply and our bonus action, which I think we're going to have to use for the military because we can't use it to attack a front. So we'll see if we can move that up. We do get a +1 though. So we need a 4, 5 or a 6. Oh no. Oh dear. That's it. It is the tidy up. Oh, move that back to 0 on the hits. I'm frightened to look, but it is the headline phase. And this card is the Battle of Gazala. 3 actions. Rommel launched a major attack against the Gazala line on the 26th of May 1942. Unexpectedly fierce Free French resistance at Bir Hakeim threatened Axis supplies. The desert battle raged in the cauldron, with the British suffering heavy tank losses, marking the 13th of June as Black Sunday. The next day, the British began a withdrawal. We've got a little asterisk by the Tobruk fault unit, which I don't think will apply, but it says, if currently placed on its 3 battle value side, reduce the Tobruk fault to its 2 battle value side. Well, it's gone. Tobruk has fallen, but these 3 are advancing. That's not good news. -1 military again and -1 supply. And for the orders phase, we've got a -1 DRM for raid, but a +1 for military and Luftwaffe, and no fortified actions are allowed this turn. I think we're maxed out on the fault values. So, looks like Malta is being attacked. So the Luftwaffe is trying its luck. First, they do need a 5 or a 6 though. No, they are repulsed. The Air Force is also trying to get through. They again need a 5 or 6. No! And the Africa Corps at El Alamein. They need a 4, 5 or 6. No! This is great news. But it's -1 on the military. We can't reduce it anymore. So we have to use one of these to reduce it. So we use the supplies. We've got most of those. But we also have to lose a supply as well. So we're down to 2. And on the orders phase, we've got a -1 DRM on raid, but a +1 on the military, which is good because we need to get this up. And the Luftwaffe. So, I think our first priority is to try and get the military up. Otherwise, we can only attack one front. So we use an action. We need a 4, 5 or 6. That's no good. We've got to try it again. Oh dear. Well, like last time, I think we better use our last action to try and push back something at least. Let's try the Luftwaffe. We've got a +1 on them. Last action. 3 or more. Oh, at least we get that. So they are pushed back. I'm not going to use any supply. So, it's the tidy up. And we're on the next headline phase. And the next card is Operation Exile. 3 actions. This card doesn't look good. But anyway, it says, additional rationing went into effect as food shortages worsened. Fast ships made night runs to the island, but a lightly escorted convoy of the 12th of February 1942 had all of its freighters sunk. An urgent call went out for Spitfires, but few were available by the end of the month. Field Marshal Kesselring ordered that Malta must be crushed. So this asterisk by the Luftwaffe isn't good news with a little ×2 on it. It says after advancing, the Luftwaffe's unit's battle value is adjusted up to 4 if it's currently at 3. Oh no. The ×2, it advances 2 spaces this turn, but only 1 space if a fault unit is in the first space. No, it's going to advance right up to Malta. And the Navy is making a comeback and advancing, and Ultra is not ready. Resources +1 military, that's good, but a -1 supply and a -1 morale. That still keeps us in the black. And in the orders phase, a -1 DRM for raid, but a +1 DRM for supply and Luftwaffe. So here we go, the Luftwaffe advancing twice up to Malta and then turning into a 4 strength. The Regia Marina coming down and the Ultra turned over to not ready. So they're trying their luck again. They need a 5 or 6 though. No! Once again they are repulsed. +1 military, so this comes up great. -1 supply though. And morale. All on 1. -1 DRM on raid. But a +1 on supply. And the Luftwaffe. So what do we do? Do we try and increase the resources? Or do we push back some of the fronts? Dear oh dear. We've got a long way to go with the deck. Well, let's try and push back the Luftwaffe as we've got a +1 on it and it's a 4. So if that gets through and we can't push it back, that's going to be hard to win Operation Hercules. Right, let's try that. So we need a 4, 5 or a 6. Dear oh dear. Let's try it again. That's better. 1 action left. Do we increase the supply as it's got a +1 as well? Or do we try and push back the Africa Corps? Now let's try a supply as we've got a +1 on that. My thinking is if any of the fronts do get through the fortification, we've at least got an attempt to try and push them back during the orders phase. So we need a 3 or more to give us an extra supply. There we go. We don't. Oh no. Okay, housekeeping phase. And we're on to the next card. And it is a change of command. 2 actions. On the 13th of August 1942, General Montgomery assumed command of the British 8th Army, while General Alexander took over as Commander-in-Chief in the Middle East. The island of Malta was starving to death and very near the breaking point as a black market thrived and its capital, Valletta, lay in ruins. Now this is different. It says for the military phase you must advance your choice of any 2 Axis fronts. Oh no. During the housekeeping phase, apply a player harmful +1 DRM to the Operation Hercules roll if it is checked this turn. Well, hopefully it won't be checked, but we'll see. We get a +1 for military in the resources, and in the orders phase a -1 DRM for supply, but a +2 for raid. So advancing any 2 fronts. Well, I have to be the Luftwaffe, I suppose, and I don't want to advance the Africa Corps, so we'll advance one of these. Let's try. Oh, the Italian Navy has been moving. Are there many cards with the Italian Navy advancing, or do we use the Air Force? Okay, let's advance the Air Force. They're going to try Malta again. So they need a 5 or a 6. Oh no! They get through. And we'll turn that sideways, because in the housekeeping phase, even if we push the Italian Air Force back to East Sicily, Malta's fortification will be reduced. We get a +1 military. And in the orders phase, -1 DRM on supply, but a +2 on raid. Oh, not enough actions. Well, let's try and push the Regia Aeronautica back, because if they stay there, Operation Hercules will kick in and we get a +1 to that as well. So we need a 3 or more. Yes! Oh, don't do that to me. They get pushed back, but the fortification will be going down to 3 in a moment. So our last action. Do we try for a raid to push this up in case the Afrika Korps get through El Alamein? And just to remind you, if they are in Alexandria, which is just past El Alamein, at the end of the housekeeping phase we lose. Or do we push one of these back? Yeah, let's push one of these back, because it's going to be easier for them to get through, because this is going to be reduced. So last action. Who should we try? We'll try the Luftwaffe, because as I said earlier, they are the most dangerous with the highest attack value. So you need a 5 or a 6. No. That's it. Can't use any supply. So we're tidying up. And this is now reduced to a 3, as opposed to these faults which are removed if they are breached. And we move on to the next card. And the card is, oh dear, Invasion Looms. 3 actions. Wet winter weather hampered Malta, both as a military base and as a target. Morale declined as living conditions on the island worsened. With Malta nearly suppressed, Axis forces in North Africa received more troops and supplies, and the threat of Axis invasion loomed large. But 3 resupply ships did manage to reach Malta. Oh no, it's another one of them. Advance all Axis forces except the Luftwaffe unit and 1 other. Roll a die to see which front you halt. We throw a 1, it's the U-boats. 2, Regia Aeronautica. 3, Regia Marina. 4, 5 or 6, Afrika Korps. That's the one we want to stop, I suppose. Resources. We get a +1 supply, but a -1 morale will bring us down to 0. And a -1 DRM on the Regia Marina, U-boats and raid. This third epoch deck isn't very nice. Right, let's have a look at this. Everything's advancing except the Luftwaffe and 1 other, but I forgot to mention that Rommel's situation is going to move 1 to the left. So, which other front isn't moving? Is it probably best that the Afrika Korps doesn't advance? Anyway, let's see. 2. Regia Aeronautica is not advancing, but the U-boats and the Navy are, as well as the Afrika Korps. Oh dear, let's sort those out. So the Regia Marina need a 4, 5 or 6 to get through the fortifications. No, they are pushed back. The U-boats, they need a 4, 5 or 6. No! Back they go. And the Afrika Korps need a 4, 5 or 6. They of course get it and move into El Alamein. We do have a chance to push them back. So 3 actions. Do we increase the fortification at Malta? We've certainly got to push these back. Do we try push those as well? We've got a -1 on Rommel's situation. But before all that, we get a +1 supply, but a -1 morale. We get a -1 on all resources. And a -1 on the Regia Marina, U-boats, and raid. Oh dear, this isn't good at all. So, what to do with our 3 actions? Pushing back the Africa Corps will be a 6. Moving this to the right is going to take a 6. Well, let's try at least to push back the Air Force because that doesn't have a -1 DRM on it. And we'll decide what to do in a moment with the other 2 actions. But we need 3 or more. Try it again. Oh, yes! Last action. I think we better try. See if we can throw a 6. Because El Alamein will fall, and if they move into Alexandria and we can't push them back, they've won. Yeah, let's try it. It's a bit of a long shot. Come on, 6. No. Right, let's use an action. Try it again. Yeah, rather than trying to throw a 6, might as well try and throw a 6. No, nearly. Yeah, also, it will go down to -2 if we throw a 6, but hopefully when we try and push this back up, we won't have a -1 on it. Here we go. Oh dear, oh dear. Once more. It's looking dire as it is, but let's try it once more. No! Well, that's it. We're in the housekeeping phase. But I forgot in my despair, that fort has gone. And the next card is the first battle of El Alamein. 3 actions. As Rommel continued his relentless pursuit, a delaying action at Merthyr Matruh at the end of June 1942 found Commonwealth forces falling back on El Alamein without enough armoured support. The capture of Cairo seemed imminent. The ensuing month-long conflict exhausted both sides and proved indecisive. So, Luftwaffe, oh no, ×2 on the Africa Corps, advances 2 spaces this turn, but only 1 if a fort unit is in the first space. I think we've just lost the game. Rommel's situation does advance, and the Spitfires have arrived, but I fear too late. We're going to get a -1 military, -1 supply, and place the Spitfires marker in the ready box. And the orders, -1 DRM, supply and raid, but a +1 on the Luftwaffe Africa Corps and fortify. Let's see if it's game over. So this would go in the holding box up the top there. We'll just put it there for completeness. But the Luftwaffe would advance. This would go up to 0. But the Africa Corps will advance 2. There are no forts in the way to stop them. So they would advance into Alexandria, straight to Cairo, which, as you hopefully can see, is an automatic defeat. And we don't even get to do the rest of the turn. Yes, I've just checked the rules and it says if Rommel at any time during the game advances into the Cairo box, you are instantly defeated. Never mind. Oh, by the way, we didn't get a chance to use it, but the Spitfires ready will give us a +1 DRM against the Luftwaffe and the Italian Air Force, or we can use it as a convoy air support, both of which are free, but we can only do one or the other once per turn. So there we are. We didn't even get a chance to push him back from Cairo. Well, what do you think? I think this is a cracking little game. Good fun, easy to play, and with the 3 decks shuffled, you're going to get lots of different outcomes. And don't be too dismayed at my failure. This game from what I've found out, is very hard to win. So I had a massive defeat because Rommel's gone all the way across North Africa and ended up in Cairo. So this has been a playthrough of Malta Besieged, a solitaire game by Steve Carey and published by Worthington Publishing. But even though I didn't make it all the way through, I hope you enjoyed it and you found it interesting. And if you did, and you haven't done so already, it really does help the channel if you would consider subscribing to it. Also, pushing the like button of the video helps tremendously as well. And if you want to be informed of other content the channel uploads, then push the bell. As always, I encourage you to leave a comment. Yep, I know, you would have probably played it different, but that's the fun of these games. But what do you think? Let me know. I love to read them. Thanks as always to my subscribers for sticking by me. Thank you very much indeed. And just before I go, if you wish to support the channel a little bit further, well, now you can buy the channel a coffee, and I'll leave a link in the description to that, or you can push the super thanks button underneath this video. Both donations will be gratefully received and really do help in keeping the channel ticking along. So thank you. Right, Malta has been besieged, so next time we'll be moving on to something different, and to find out what that is, watch out for the next video. But until then, as always, you take care and goodbye.